Hi YouTube, my name is Christopher Lachey of CW Lachey Law. I'm an attorney here in North Carolina, and what you're about to watch is a presentation done at a town hall on Second Amendment rights in North Carolina, as well as certain federal laws. Problem that happens a lot of the time is when people are pulled over by law enforcement, because usually, at least in Charlotte, it's not an issue, the Terry stop and Terry frisk, but DUI checkpoints, they're questionable about whether they are constitutional. So in a DUI checkpoint, if you have your firearm with you, you still have to inform officers that you have your firearm and it's concealed in your vehicle. So how the DUI checkpoints work that have to stay constitutional is when the officers are told, we are going to stop every 5 cars. We are going to stop every red car. We're going to stop every Hyundai Sonata. They can't say we're going to stop every black guy. They can't say we're going to stop every guy that's wearing a Cardinals or a Panthers jersey because the game just got out and I think there was some heavy drinking going on at the game. You can't do that because now you're profiling people. That's unconstitutional. But as a lot of us know, that if we have a firearm in a vehicle and we get pulled over by law enforcement for a regular traffic stop, the first thing we do, shut the vehicle off. We've got our window down. Our hands are on the steering wheel, and as the officer is walking up, say, I have a firearm. Officer will do one of 2 things. They'll say, okay, or they'll say, where is it? All right, it's in my center console. Don't reach for it. Don't say, hey, let me show you something. Don't say, oh, I'm just going to get my register. Don't do anything. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Traffic stops are extremely stressful for law enforcement. They're extremely stressful for citizens. They're stressful for law enforcement because they are the second most deadly incident. They're the second most deadly occurrence for an officer. The first being domestic calls, domestic disputes. And an officer arrives on scene, has no idea who started the fight. But a regular traffic stop is the second most deadly, in which officers are killed on duty. It's stressful for us because it's stressful for officers, because tensions are high, the stakes have been raised. We don't know how the officer is going to respond. He might be aggressive towards me. Don't talk back to the officer. This is not the time to have your 5 minutes, have your YouTube channel streaming on your cell phone. It's okay to record law enforcement. That's perfectly fine to record law enforcement. But to roll your window down 2 inches, have your phone up, and say, oh, that's all you need, officer. What's your badge number? What's your name? You have now increased the chances of getting a ticket by 1,000%. But if you say that you have a firearm, officer will ask to present it. He might ask you to get out of the vehicle. He might ask you to go get the firearm. Open up your console or wherever the firearm is. You hand the firearm to the officer. The officer will take it. He'll go to the back of he'll go to his car and he's going to run numbers on it. He might be gone for a while. What he's looking for are see if it's been involved in any crimes. When that gets returned to you, he'll say, here's your firearm. Here's your clip. Now make a bowl. Put your hands together and he'll drop all the bullets in there. That's a very common scenario, especially here in Charlotte, when officers don't want to hand back a loaded firearm to someone in a car. Don't think that the officer's being a jerk by doing it. That's not what he's doing. It's for his safety, it's for your safety, it's for everyone's safety. You don't have a constitutional right to have a loaded firearm handed back to you by an officer. That's not the time to have that argument with the cop. If you are a passenger in a vehicle and you have a firearm, say something, because that driver is responsible for you and responsible for everything in the vehicle. If the driver does not know that you have a firearm and a search is performed on the vehicle and a firearm is turns up, everyone's going to jail. That gun is going to be seized and everyone's going to jail. Because if no one takes the fall for something, everyone takes the fall for something. I'll give you something, another example. If you're pulled over and you're asked to step out of your vehicle, Ladies, take your purse with you. Gentlemen, take your briefcases and your shoulder bags, take those with you. Anything left inside the vehicle is subject to a search based on probable cause. If he's asking you to step out of the vehicle to search the vehicle, and he has the right to do so, because he has probable cause, looking for drugs, looking for firearms, take your containers out, because otherwise those are also subject to search. And you might forget, ladies, you might forget, oh, I didn't say anything when the officer walked up because I've got my pistol in my purse. A guy might say, you know what, it's in my bag. I totally forgot. I was coming back from the office. Don't leave your bag in the car, because it will be subject to search. As a general rule, nothing I say here is going to increase your likelihood of being cited or arrested. The police are not your enemy, but they're also not your friend. Police are victim advocates. They're doing their job. They're doing what they're told to do. Go make sure that people aren't driving drunk. Okay, DUI checkpoint. Tell them that you have a firearm, or it could be seized. You could end up being charged with a misdemeanor. You'll lose your CCW, and you will lose your right to get another firearm. You might lose your right to purchase firearms in the future if the charge is severe enough. Something that happens in southwestern states is what's called stop and identify. North Carolina does not have a stop and identify law. Stop and identify is when an officer does exactly that. They stop you and they say, show me your ID. You're not required to talk to that officer. You're not required to provide ID. You're not required to do anything. Stop. Show me your ID. Am I being detained? No. Bye. If an officer tells you that you are required to show him identification and then you don't have identification and he charges you with something and you get hauled down to the station, let it go. You'll have that battle in court. Dealing with the officer right there is not going to matter. He might have been told something. He might be ill-informed. He might have been told to push your buttons. I can't speak for the officer, but all I can say is that is not the time to have your conflict with law enforcement, especially when a firearm is involved. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and found it informative, like and subscribe. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter. You can also get my contact information in the description below. My firm is also on Facebook. There are many more video talks to come in the future, so stay tuned.